Hare Krishna. So we are going to start from verse 9.29 today. I'm going to share my screen. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Coming through, yes.
Okay, so let's recite this verse. You can repeat after me. Samoham sarva bhuteshu
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
name dveshosti na priyaha
name deshosti na priyaha
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
maite teshu chapyaham.
mayi teteshu chapyaham.
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
name dveshosti na priyaha
name dveshosti na priyaha
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
maite teshu chapyaham.
mayi teteshu chapyaham.
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
name dveshosti na priyaha
name dveshosti na priyaha
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
mayi teteshu chapyaham.
mayi teteshu chapyaham.
Anyone else would like to recite?
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
name dveshosti na priyaha
name dveshosti na priyaha
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
mayi teteshu chapyaham.
mayi teteshu chapyaham. Anyone else?
Yeah. Samoham sarva bhuteshu
Samoham sarva bhuteshu
name dveshyosti na priyaha
name dveshosti na
dveshosti na
priyaha
priyaha
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya
ye
ye
bhajanti
bhajanti
tumam
tumam
bhaktya
bhaktya
mayi teteshu chapyaham.
mayi
mayi
teteshu
teteshu
chapyaham.
chapyaham.
Anyone else? Okay, let's recite the synonyms. Sama,
Sama,
equally disposed.
equally disposed.
Aham,
Aham,
I.
I.
Sarva bhuteshu,
Sarva bhuteshu,
Bhuteshu,
to all living entities.
to
to
all
all
living
living
entities.
entities.
Na,
No,
no one.
no one
May,
may
to me.
to
to me.
me
Dvesha,
dvesha,
hateful.
Hateful.
Asti,
Asti
is.
is
Na,
na,
nor.
nor
nor.
Priya,
priyaha,
Priyaha,
dear.
dear,
Ye,
ye,
those who.
those who
Bhajanti,
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 render transcendental service.
render transcendental service
To,
to,
but.
but
Mam,
mam
unto me.
unto me
Bhaktya,
bhaktya,
in devotion.
in devotion,
Mai,
mayi
are in me.
are in me,
Te,
te,
such persons.
such persons,
Teshu,
teshu,
in them.
in them,
Cha,
cha,
also.
also,
Api,
api,
certainly.
certainly,
Aham,
aham,
I.
I.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Purport. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination. It is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness. and therefore they are always transcendently situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists, situated in Him. The Lord says here distinctly, Maite, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the word ye yatha mam prapadyante tam satheva bhajamyaham. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. I read the translation one more time. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So this is also one of the very sweet verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So far, if you remember, there is a section that came in the 9th chapter, which started in the 20th verse, and it ended in the 28th verse. Now we are entering the next section. So in the previous section, which I just mentioned, verses 20 to 28, Krishna actually makes a comparison between, his worshippers and the Devata worshippers, other Devatas, Anya Devata, that's how Krishna puts it in the Bhagavad Gita. So yepi Anya Devata Bhakta. So he is clearly discriminating between his own devotees and devotees of other Devatas. What happens to them? What do they get? So that was the previous section, and this is a new section starting. This section, Krishna wholeheartedly glorifies the potency of bhakti, and then he describes how special the devotees are, his own devotees, how special they are to him. So previous section, it started from verse 20, where Krishna actually talked about that how Traividya Mam Somapa Putta, that how these devotees of other god, they basically read Vedas and they drink the Soma juice and they want to go to the Swarga and they want to enjoy over there. They want to enjoy godly delights. And they do actually go there. If they try diligently, they do actually go. But what happens is Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. Once their pious credits are over, then Martya Lokam Vishanti. They again come back to this Mrityu Loka, basically to the earthly planets. So that was in contrast. What he says is to his own devotees. He says, Anyanyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paryupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. He says actually that the previous, the worshipper of other devatas, they are Gatagatam Kama Kama Lavante. They come, they go, they don't get anything lasting. But my devotees, whose consciousness is fixed on me, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. Ananya means Ananya means others. Ananya means no one else, only Krishna. Whose consciousness is only fixed on Krishna, to them Krishna brings them what they lack and he protects what they have. And then he also says, again he says, Yepi Anya Devata Bhakta Yajante Shraddhayanvita Tepi Mam Eva Kauntaya Yajante Avidhi Purvakam. He says actually even the devotees of other gods, other devatas, they are actually worshipping me only. Tepi Mam Eva Kauntaya. But he puts a condition, yajante avidhi purvakam. Now, in many Hindu websites of Gita, this last line is removed or they translate it differently. Either they remove this line, what does it mean? They worship in a wrong way. That's how avidhi. Vidhi means properly worshipping. Avidhi means without proper, it's not proper basically, avidhi. So what they do is either they remove this line or they translate this as they worship me only in another way. That's how they translate. But avidhi is not another way. It is improper way avidhi means. So, and in the next verse, it talks about what is the consequence of this avidhi purvakam. And if they worship me, incorrectly, he says, aham hi sarva yajnanam devata cha prabhurevacha natu mam abhijanati tatvenatas chavanti te. So actually, they don't understand, these devotees of other god, that, aham hi sarva yajnanam bhukta cha. I am only the enjoyer and, master of all the sacrifices which are there. But because they don't understand this, natu mam abhijananti tatvenatas, they don't understand it tatvataha, in the sense philosophically. As a result, chavanti te, they fall down. This is very emphatic. This word chavanti te is very, very emphatic, that, because they don't understand, their consciousness is, because they're not able to make this link, they again fall down to this pool of material existence, birth and death basically. What happens in the material world is birth and death. And then he gives the general principle, how it works. Yanti deva vrita devan putran yanti pitravataha bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti mam yaginopima. He says that actually the worshippers of the devatas, they will go and reside with the devatas. The worshippers of the pitras, pitran yanti pitravrataha, they will go to the planets of the pitras and they will reside over there. Bhutani yanti bhutejya, the people who worship the spirits and ghosts, they will become spirits and ghosts. But my devotees, yanti mad yajinopimam, they will come and reside with me eternally. That's how he puts it. And then after that, he talks about how easy it is to worship Krishna. He says, patram pushpam phalam toyam. Just offer me a little water, one leaf. Of course, that leaf is to be, Acharya explained that one leaf is tulsi leaf actually. Patram, pushpam, phalam, and toyam. Patram is the leaf. So actually, it is just, patram means singular. Patrani is, multiple, but he doesn't use patrani. He says patram, just one leaf is enough. Pushpam, just one flower. Phalam, just any fruit. And toyam is water. Either a combination of these or any one of these, if you offer me. If you offer it with a pure heart, then I will accept it. And then he also says that actually, for a pure devotee, he offers everything to me. His whole existence only is offered to me. Yad karosi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi dadasi, yad tapashyasi konteya, tat kursh madarpanam. And he says, what happens after this? If you do this, the next verse he says, Shubhashubh phalarevam mokshase karma bandhane sannyasa yoga yuktatma vimakto mamupeshyasi. If you do like this, all shubha and ashubha. Actually, in this material world, there is shubha and ashubha. There is punya and pap. But both are ashubha in one sense, because both keep us bound in this material world. If we do shubha or punya, we actually go to the swarga. But swarga is also part of the material world. It is not outside the material world. And after the result of the punyas is over, the punya phal is over, we have to come down again to the earthly planets, and then we have to suffer again here. Birth, death, old age, and disease. That's what we get here. On the other hand, if we offer everything to Krishna, even whatever punya also we are doing, if you offer that to Krishna, that, this is for you, my Lord. So that actually becomes akarma. Akarma is something which has no material result. It becomes transcendental. So it becomes a worship of Krishna, and it has transcendental results, in a sense that we can go back to the spiritual world and we can enjoy. So what happens to such people? He says, vimukto. Vimukto is a special kind of, mukto means liberation. Vimukto means a special liberation. They're specially liberated. And what is that special liberation? He says, mamupeshyasi. They come and they become my personal associates. So for other, even Jnana Mishra Bhaktas and Dhyana Mishra Bhaktas, they may also get liberation, but they will either get, says, Salokya or Sarupya. But the devotees who are worshipping Krishna, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, they will become an associate of the Lord. So that is a special liberation. Now a question may come up that is it not partiality? Krishna, you are sending the devotees of other devatas to their planets, and that is temporary, and again they have to come back and suffer. And your devotees, they get transcendental results, they enjoy with you eternally, in your spiritual planet, in either in Vaikuntha, if they are worshippers of Vishnu, or in Golok Vrindavan, which is the abode of Krishna, or in Ayodhya, which is the abode of Lord Ram. Isn't it partiality? So Krishna clarifies this. He says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu. See, I am equally disposed to every living entity. Name dvesho nastina priyaha. Neither I hate someone, nor do I love anyone. So this is very it's not actually difficult to understand that how Krishna is partial, yet he is impartial. We'll discuss it in a minute. He says, but ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. Those who worship me, those who render transcendental loving service to me, mai te teshu chapyaham. They are in me and I am in them, which is very sweet. This is very similar to the previous verse, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. This is more sweeter actually in one way. So what happens here is, we have to understand, Prabhupada also quotes the Yayatha Mam Prapadyanta principle, that as a devotee surrendered to Krishna, accordingly he reciprocate with them. So this is not partiality, this is called reciprocity. Krishna is equipoised, or he's equally disposed to everyone, doesn't mean that he is neutral. He's like a stone-like neutrality. A stone, whether you hit that stone with your fist or you pour water on it, or it will just stay there. It won't do anything to you. Neither to a person who is hitting the stone, neither to a person who is offering flower to the stone, because stone cannot do anything. So Krishna is not a stone. He is a person. So he is equally disposed to everyone, means he is equally reciprocal to everyone. So whatever way a person is reciprocating with Krishna, Krishna will also reciprocate accordingly. And moreover, Chakravarti Path says that this is not partiality, because Krishna is openly declaring the glories of bhakti. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has openly said that this is what my devotees will get, and this is what the devotees of other gods will get. So if you want to become my devotee, you are welcome to become my devotee. So he actually says, Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yantim Param Gatim. There is no pre-qualification needed to become a devotee of Krishna. So if you become my devotee, you will get all these facilities. So it's up to you. And it's like, there is a country, say, if United States have so many immigration problems right now, but if the immigration is open, anybody can come and immigrate in United States, and United States give a lot of facilities to people who live in United States. They are giving out so much trillions of dollars now in COVID relief funds and whatnot. And suppose they welcome everyone, whoever wants to come here, they can stay here. So they will automatically get all the benefits of staying in United States. Similarly, people who become devotees of Krishna, they will automatically get all the benefits that Krishna offers to his devotees. So it will, but it is up to the person to either accept that offer or reject that offer. Sometimes the example of sun is given. The sun is always there in the sky. A person who is outside, he can actually enjoy the sunlight. But if a person is sitting inside the room, and then he says, actually, sun is so partial, he's not giving any light to me. Sun is there. You just go out and you enjoy the sunlight. So that's how it is. So in that sense, Krishna is not partial, and also this verse indicates that Krishna says, I am a friend to him. He is my friend and I am also a friend to him. So now if Krishna is a friend of a person, suppose I have a very good friend, and if I have some other person is trying to be inimical with me, he's trying to harm me, he's trying to, do some bad things to me. So if I have a very good friend, what would my good friend do? He will also become enemy of that person. So similarly, Acharya explained, so this is also indicative of Vaishnava Aparadh. Sometimes we say Vaishnava Aparadh is very dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because Acharya's point out this verse also, that if a devotee, devotee's friend is Krishna, and if someone is trying to be inimical to the devotee, then Krishna will become the enemy of that person. If Krishna becomes enemy, then who can save that person? So therefore, acharyas say that stay away from Vaishnava. Do not offend a Vaishnava. It is the Vaishnava may forgive. The Vaishnavas are generally very compassionate, very merciful. But Krishna takes a personal offense to people who harm Vaishnavas or who try to be offensive to Vaishnavas. And then when he takes a personal offense to that, I mean, if you do any offense directly to Krishna, Krishna may not mind because he's the father of all living entities. But if you're trying to unnecessarily, harm a Vaishnava, then Krishna takes a personal offense and then he becomes the enemy of that person. So in that sense, Acharya explain that we should be very careful of this Vaishnava Aparadha. We know in the path of bhakti, the only thing we are warned of is, if you want to grow in bhakti, if you want to grow in devotion, stay very far away from Vaishnava Aparadha. So this verse is actually one verse which is quoted by the acharyas when they talk about Vaishnava Aparadha. When sometimes people ask what is the scriptural reference of Vaishnava Aparadha. So this is one of those. There are other verses also, but this is also a very prominent verse which acharyas quote. So I'll take a quick pause here and see if there are any questions or comments or corrections.
Very nice points, Ganapati Govind Prabhu, but it's still hard to accept that Krishna doesn't show any partiality in one sense.
Why do you say that, Mataji? That Krishna doesn't show any partiality?
Because he does say that, to those who consider him a friend and, pray to him with devotion. But the point that you made is good, that the son, that we have to take advantage of that. And then he will show the same favor to everyone, right?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, if we discuss the next few verses, it will become more clear that how this principle applies. He actually also says that mam hi parthya pashitya epis yu papa yonya striyo vaishya satha shudras tepi anti param gatim. He says that even if you are born in papa yoni, you are inherently sinful. But if you are engaged in devotional service, you will actually slowly you will become purified of your sinful reactions and your sinful mentality. You will shipram bhavati dharmatma. You will become a dharmatma very soon. And then shashvat shantim nigacchati. You will get eternal peace. That's how he puts it.
I think Krishna is making the point that everybody has a shot at devotional service. Nobody is barred from devotional service.
Exactly.
Anybody can take up the process. Everybody has an equal shot at the process. But if we fail to take it up, that's our problem, not Krishna's problem.
Krishna is the
So
equal opportunity.
every living entity has an equal shot at it, especially people who are in the human body and who have sufficient intelligence. We have a higher intellect than the rest of the animal kingdom. But when we have that higher intelligence and we do not take a chance to do devotional service, that is our problem. But every human being has an equal shot at devotional service. That's the point that Krishna is making.
Yes, very nicely explained, Mataji. That's exactly what it means, that everybody is qualified to become a devotee. Whether they become devotee or not, that is up to them, because everybody has free will. Krishna doesn't intervene with the free will. We have to use our free will to become a devotee of Krishna. Also, Prabhupada makes a very interesting point. He says that the worship of Krishna is transcendental. It's a very important point to understand. Even if we go to Krishna with some material motives, he says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukriti no arjuna arto jigyasur artharthi gyani cha bharatarsham. That arto is basically a distressed person, and artharthi is a person who wants wealth. So clearly these two are material motives. Even if we go with those material motives to Krishna, he says they are sukriti, they are very pious persons, and they will soon, not only their desires will be fulfilled, they will also get something more. Krishna will offer himself also to them. So Acharya explain that Krishna's worship is in a different category altogether. It's very different from the worship of any other devatas, because Krishna is transcendental. He is not in the material world. He is actually spiritual. All the other devatas, Indra, Chandra, Pavan, Vayu, all those are, they are all in the material world. They take care of material management of this universe. So Krishna's worship is actually transcendental. You cannot actually compare the two. They are of two different categories altogether. And also, I wanted to mention this point that Prabhupada mentions. One second, I'll open the Yeah, about the desire tree. So that sometimes we compare Krishna to a kalpataru, that Krishna is like a desire fulfilling tree. But Chakravarti Path actually talks about it in the same verse in his purport. If you read, he mentions that actually a desire tree, it's a very inappropriate comparison, because he says that, if a person goes to a desire tree, to a kalpataru, that tree will actually offer whatever desires are there, he will fulfill the desires. But it doesn't, with Krishna, it doesn't end just with that. Krishna also becomes attached to that person who is coming to him, so, but a desire tree doesn't become attached. So Krishna, when he becomes attached to someone, he offers himself to that person. So that is also a very important point to understand. Prabhupada also talks about the gold and the diamond. That's a very nice analogy. Krishna is like diamond and devotees are like gold. And the combination of gold and diamond is very,
Beautiful.
yeah.
And I was also reflecting that Krishna is even making it easier and easier and easier for us in this Kali Yuga, as
Right,
easy
that's
as
true.
possible to attain him.
Yeah, and if at the same time you look at the tone of the Bhagavad Gita, after this 6th chapter has ended, the call for bhakti has become very, very prominent in the Gita. That just become, somehow or the other, you become my devotee. That's how in the last verse of this chapter, Krishna will very explicitly say that, become my devotee. Manmana bhav mad bhakta madhyaji mam namaskuru. Somehow or the other, just take up devotional service, and you will be all set. Actually, that's how Krishna puts it.
Yeah, especially when it has been simplified so much for us, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ganapati.
I'm just going to that one verse where Krishna says, this is actually my supreme instruction. Sometimes people get the idea that, Bhagavad Gita only talks about you just do your karma and be happy. That's all. It actually is not the conclusion of the Gita. The conclusion of the Gita, Krishna talks about in the verses 64, the last chapter, towards the end of the chapter, he says that actually, sarva guhyatamam bhuya shunume paramam vachaha. Sarva guhyatam. This is the most confidential, and this is shunume paramam vachaha. This is my supreme instruction. Ishtu si me dranamiti. I'm telling this because you are very dear to me. Tato vakshami te hitam. For your benefit, I'm telling this because you are very dear to me. He says, manmana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mam evashyasi sat yuktvevam atmanam matparaya. Actually, this verse is 9.34, but the same manmana bhav mad bhakto comes in 65 also, where he says, manmana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mam evashyasi satyam te pratijane. Priyosi me. He said, I declare it that whoever becomes my devotee, he will surely come back to me. So this actually is the conclusion of the Gita, not any other. Sometimes people have different ideas, but Krishna makes it very clear. This is the most confidential, and this is my supreme instruction, that you should become my devotee. So this is actually there for everyone, because Krishna also says this later in the same chapter, 2 verses later, he says that one who gives this knowledge to others, that person is very dear to me. So we have to understand that also, that this is not just an instruction for Arjuna, it is also an instruction for everybody, that we become devotees of Krishna. So I think we have exceeded the time a little bit. Are there any last comments, questions, corrections? Okay, if not, we can end the class here. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Ganapati Govind Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, everyone.